Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA DFS content, sportsbook content, anything you can think of. I do make content for. All these videos they go to this Reddit right here. Really important to be here. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. You can ask me questions about the slate leading up to lock. Really good place. Other people post content here, right? So that'll be linked down below as well. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can on X right there. And then if you're looking for more in-depth content where I post sportsbook plays, um, um, player pools for the slate, videos for the slate, flag plants and GPPs for the slates, that'll be linked down below. All right, so as the slate's still going on, you guys know I don't sweat my lineups, so we will go over that in the next video. As far as the recap from yesterday, I 3x yesterday. I showed you guys my lineups while the slate was going on. Didn't end up nuking like I thought I was going to because AD and LeBron and Clarkson. And who else did I have? Had underwhelming games, so only a 3x day yesterday. Still take it, but could have been a lot more. Tonight, I think I should min cash. Most of my lineups, I had um, Reeves, I had Tyson, I had Craig Porter Jr., Ty Jerome. I had who else did I play? Sengun I played, of course. I have Franz. Unfortunately, I went Steph in one lineup. That's a blowout. Um, who else did I play? But the value's nuked. I'll recap it in the next video. Hopefully should have a good night here. What's this lineup right here? That's night slate. I was going to see if I remembered any players off that lineup, but I guess I do not. That was night slate. So, alrighty, guys, let's get into the breakdown. As tradition, let's hit the vape. Let's go over it. Detroit at Charlotte. So no news to keep an eye on here. Alzer Thompson is still going to remain out. So I mean, how do you not play Cade Cunningham with what he's doing right now, even at this price point? Fine spot going up against Charlotte. Just absurd what he's doing right now. You'd love to see it. Now, his assists, I don't think he's going to continue to average close to 10 assists per game. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I would tamper the expectations a little bit there, but going to play close to 40 minutes in competitive games. I like the spot here going up against Charlotte. I still think he's too cheap. He's averaging 50 fantasy points on the season, and if you go back, like, I don't want to be a box score watcher, but what he's doing right now is just ridiculous. So, yeah, I would say looking at spend ups on the board, I think Cade has to be one of the best spend ups on the board today. I like AD, but I think LeBron's fine, but I think Cade's right up there as one of the best spend ups on the board. Jaden Ivey at 6'7", probably getting to the price point to where he should be, but the Wombo combo of Cade, Jaden Ivey, it's just these two running the show offensively, right? Tobias Harris is kind of taking a back seat. Jalen Duren, he doesn't really do a ton offensively. And then you have like Malik Beasley off the bench. That's mainly it. Tim Hardaway Jr. can hit some shots, but it's just a two-man show here. So I really like Cade Cunningham. I think Ivy's perfectly fine. I'm pretty high on Jalen Duren. Now, Charlotte is going small. I don't think that's really going to impact Duren's minutes too much. I would expect around 30 minutes here as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Just fantastic spot going up against Charlotte. So 6'4", I think is a reasonable price for Duren. I don't think too many people are going to click him tomorrow unless people just auto-click him due to the matchup up against Charlotte. But yeah, pretty high on those top three guys there. I think Tobias Harris is completely fine too at 6.2K. Just playing huge minutes, has double upside. Like I said, I wish the shot volume was a bit higher, but high floor does have a ceiling when he is making a shot. So I don't even mind Tobias Harris. I think he'll be somewhat popular tomorrow. I do prefer Duren to Tobias though. Beasley at 5'2", playing massive minutes off the bench, but I have a tough time paying that price point for him. I think better value will open up later. Not going to pay this price point for Stu, but if you think anything happens to Duren, Stewart will be the one to benefit there. And Tim Hardaway Jr. I think is a fine value. Now we could have much better value on like Minnesota or potentially some other teams. Those Utah guys are really cheap, etc. But Tim Hardaway Jr. going to play around 30 minutes. He's $4,000. A guy that isn't scared to shoot the ball when he's out there. So like as long as he hits his shots, he does have a ceiling. So yeah, like Tim Hardaway Jr. for value. Just solely depends on the news. Like with Minnesota, we could have better value opening up there. what were we doing with LaMelo Ball? What happened? He just like didn't come back in the fourth. But yeah, if I had to pick between Cade and LaMelo, I'm probably playing Cade over LaMelo right now. But I think the field will agree with that. I think LaMelo Ball will probably be a lot lower owned than a Cade Cunningham tomorrow. But yeah, LaMelo, of course, always in play for GPPs for me. And then you have Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges. I think once again, I prefer the price point on Miles Bridges to Brandon Miller, but both not amazing plays at their price points when everyone's healthy. I think they're fine, like filler plays to me. I might even, I don't want to say, I might even prefer like Tobias Harris over Miles. That might be a strong take, but yeah, they're fine. And I really like Grant Williams for value at 5K. They just want to continue playing small. Can grab some rebounds. Not going to grab you like a double double, but in competitive games, he is playing massive minutes. And ever since he came to Charlotte, his point per minute rates have skyrocketed. So even at 5K, I do think Grant Williams is solid mid range play. And then Trey Mann had a good game last game. Bit of an outlier with everyone healthy. I think he's normally going to stay around that like 20-ish minute mark. He also probably got extended due to the LaMelo. I believe he got into foul trouble and benching. Might be a little bit overowned because of that, but he's a fine value. Should play around like 20 minutes. Going to be a high usage player off the bench. Wish he was a little bit cheaper, but no issues with that there. I'm not going to play Josh Green, Cody Martin, these types. We're just going to have so much better value opening up later, potentially on Minnesota here, as we have Dante DiVincenzo and Mike Conley questionable for tomorrow. Now, let's go over if everyone's in. If everyone's in, I love Ant. I think he's another one of my favorite spend-ups up on the board here. Great spot going up against Toronto. Has kind of had a down year, I want to say, fantasy point-wise, but good defender. He can rack up blocks and steals. Stuff in the stat sheet. Also, Minnesota is running their starters into the ground outside of Mike Conley and Dante, so really like Ant. I think Randall's fine, safe at 8.3K. I think he's always similar to like a Siakam-ish, but has had a really, really solid role. It's just the floor has been a little bit lower this year than it has in years past. Don't mind him. It's also a great spot for him as well. I also like Rudy Gobert quite a bit. Just the minutes, right? I said in the beginning of the year, like his minutes are going to be so much more secure. And in competitive games, another guy's just playing a ton of minutes, right? 6.6K I think is reasonable. Another guy that can get blocks, good shot blocker, protect the rim, probably going to get you a double double. So yeah, I also like Rudy Gobert a ton tomorrow, and these value plays. So like, if Mike Conley and Dante play, I think all these value plays are firmly in play. Like Nas Reed, and minutes are going to be anywhere from like low 20s to high 20s. Has a ceiling. I don't mind it. Wish he was a little bit cheaper though. And then like Dante DiVincenzo, Mike Conley, I think are firmly in play. Not amazing plays at their price points, but still firmly in play for value. I don't mind McDaniels for value. I think NAW is a good punt. She'll play around 20 minutes. Another good defender. So they kind of need him out there. I like NAW at that price point. And then, yeah, if we get like both these guys out, I think NAW would shoot up to one of the best values on the board. You might even see like some Dillingham in the rotation, but NAW would just have to play a ton of minutes here. And then like Anthony Edwards, he's going to get a huge boost. Probably going to have to run a ton of point. He would look great. I don't want to say it's necessarily a bump for like Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, but yeah, would really like Ant. Would really like NAW for value. Not a huge bump to like a guy like McDaniels. Then we might see like some Dillingham potentially in the rotation, possibly. Main standouts here. It depends on Dante and Mike Conley news. If they're both out, NAW would absolutely love. Then McDaniels decent. And Anthony Edwards probably going to play a ton of point. And yeah, if they're both in, main standouts here, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards. And then I don't mind the values here. I still think they're solid. Let's move on to Toronto. Treacherous spot here for Toronto. And it also depends on Scotty Barnes news. If Scotty Barnes is in, I think I'll happily just pass on this team. Everyone would be way overpriced, and the value would just be out of place. So I think we can just move along if in that case, if Scotty Barnes is in. Now, if Barnes is out, even then, I'm not really high on too much. I think the value is just way overpriced, especially in this matchup like Dick, Abaji, Davion Mitchell. Not loving too much here. Chris Boucher should see around 20 minutes. Good point per minute guy off the bench. I guess he's solid. And then like RJ Barrett, of course, some interest, but do I want to play him over a guy like Anthony Edwards or Cade Cunningham in this matchup? No, probably not. But the ceiling is massive with him. So I still don't mind RJ Barrett. Also going to depend on his ownership. He's always been picking up ownership with the team to himself. But yeah, no issues with it. And Jakob Poeltl, been incredible this year, just playing huge minutes. Spot's not as bad as people might think it is. So yeah, he's taken on a huge role this year, playing insanely well. And the minutes are just massive. So still have interest in Poeltl at that price point as well. Just yeah, I don't know when he's going to slow down. Him and Zubac just been incredible this year. Moving on to Utah, fine spot here going up against the Spurs. They're going to be without Wemby, potentially without Chris Paul as well, and potentially without Zach Collins. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, I like John Collins, even at 7.2K. Should play around 30 minutes. Really good point per minute guy, especially in this lineup. Does have double upside. 7.2K I think is reasonable. The spot's a lot better than it would be with Wemby in. So yeah, I honestly think I prefer Collins to Markkanen, although Collins I suspect will project worse than Markkanen. But yeah, like Collins quite a bit. I think Markkanen's decent too. Just seems a little bit too cheap at 7-1. And then yeah, I think all these guards are too cheap. Keontae George, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, I think are all really solid point per dollar plays. All seem a little bit too cheap to me. And then Filipowski, I think is fine for value. Not a great point per minute guy, but should play high 20s minutes. Also, another guy can grab some rebounds. Not going to do a ton offensively, but still think he's decent for value. And I don't think I'm going to go to much else here. Now, if we get like Jordan Clarkson out, that's going to change a little bit here. Then I absolutely love Sexton at 5.4K. Then I really like Keontae George. You'll probably see a lot more Collier at 3.5K. I'd like him quite a bit for value. Hopefully they don't dust off like a Johnny Juzang or Patty Mills. I don't think they will, but who knows with this team. But yeah, that would change quite a bit with the guards. Would love Key, would love Sexton, especially Sexton, and then Collier would like. And then the main guys wouldn't be like an amazing bump because they're still going to play along like Sexton the whole time, right? Which is kind of similar to playing alongside Clark. They have one of these guards on the court at all times, and then alongside Keontae George as well. So yeah, we just really like the guards, Collier, etc. Moving on to the Spurs. Wemby, Sochan, Vassell going to remain out for this game. Now, great spot here going up against Utah. I like quite a bit here, especially the value. So, yeah, man, if Zach Collins plays at $6,000, great spot for him. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble, should play around 30 minutes. Now, price point is up at $6,000, but I definitely still have some interest there. Chris Paul actually loses usage with Wemby off the court, but stat sheet stuffer, great matchup. He should be able to dime in this spot. So, would like Chris Paul a ton. And then what else? No Vassell. So, like, I think Kelton Johnson's a little bit too cheap. I like the value here. I like Castle, I like Champagny, even at these price points. I know I say that a lot, even at these price points, but like them quite a bit. Harrison Barnes is fine at 4.4, and then I think Charles Bassey is a good value at 4K. Should get the backup 5. Great point per minute off the bench. I really like Bassey for value. And then if we get like Zach Collins out and Chris Paul out, there's going to be a ton to like here. Then Charles Bassey shoots up to one of the best plays on the board. Castle I would really like. Keldon Johnson at 5.3. Really like the other values. Champagny would like. Harrison Barnes would be playable, although he won't change too much. And then Trey Jones would be someone we'd have to consider at 3.9K with like him for value. Then Sandro Mamukelashvili would have to get a lot more run. There would just be a ton to like here. Both Zach Collins and Chris Paul are out tomorrow. I think you definitely want to leave some room for this game. This game definitely has good plays regardless if all the players are in or out tomorrow. Moving on to Orlando. So keep an eye on Wendell Jr. news. He was out today. Could be back tomorrow. If he's in, it's going to take me off Goga. Wendell Jr. will also be on a limit himself, so hard to go there. Mainly just interested in like Franz. And then Isaac should play around 20 minutes. I don't mind him. Not going to play like Silva, those type guys. Mainly just Franz, Suggs, and then like, Jonathan Isaac. I think they're all decent. Franz in a good spot going up against the Lakers with the team to himself. We could see more guys sit here on the back-to-back, so just keep an eye on it. Moving on to the Lakers. Not the best spot here going up against Orlando, but 80 going to be up there as one of the best spend-ups on the board. I think LeBron's fine. Had a bit of a letdown game last game, but still went for 46 fantasy points. I always just prefer Anthony Davis, right? I think Reeves is getting to the price point to where I think he should be, so tough click there in a tough matchup. And then if Rui's out, can we temper the... If Connect is chalk tomorrow at 5.1K, and he gets there for the slappies, I will be in so much. I don't think he's going to continue to produce at this level, right? Playing alongside LeBron, playing alongside AD, I would have him around like 0.75 to point 0.8 fantasy points per minute. And if he plays well, he'll get extended. Like this is clearly the ceiling he has, but this is not going to happen more than like once or twice a season. So yeah, if he's chalk, I want nothing to do with it. I actually think D'Angelo Russell is a really good value at 4.6K. Got into foul trouble this game. Should play mid 20s minutes off the bench. He's going to have higher usage off the bench. I'm very, very high on D'Lo tomorrow. I'm praying to God that he's low owned, but I think people will kind of realize it there. I'm not going to play Reddish. Main interest here, I'm pretty high on D'Lo for value. If you want to go to connected for Ruiz out, that's fine. And then, yeah, really like AD as a spend up. So let me just make sure no underdog news came in as I was recording this video, and then we'll just wrap it up. Nope, nothing. Sixers are toast. And yeah, hope you guys had a fantastic day. I will talk to y'all tomorrow.